Good evening. Thank all of you for being here tonight. Today is April the 4th, 2023. Our thought for today, the great gift of Easter is hope. That's by Basil C. Hume. I'm going to go ahead and officially call the meeting to order tonight. We're going to ask Commissioner Henderson, if you would lead us in our invocation tonight. And follow.
Thank you, Mr. C.
Thank
Somebody
you.
got this thing turned up pretty loud. I must have been talking awfully low lately.
And following that, we're going to ask Commissioner Edwards if he would lead us in our pledge tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come before thee with thanksgiving in our hearts. My Father, we just come just thanking you for just allowing us just to wake up this morning, because I know that it was not for your grace and your mercy. That same bed that I shared with my wife, I could have easily been dead this morning. But because of you, my Father, you allowed me to wake up. And my Father, this means that we're about to have, may you lead us and guide us in the way that you would have us to go. This we pray in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson, and thank you, Commissioner Edwards, for that. Before we adopt the agenda, we do have a couple of changes that need to be made. Item 9 on the agenda, we want to make that the last item to be discussed tonight. So if you would put last item to be discussed by item number 9. We want to add 17A. Ms. Kennedy Shannon and iParametrics. ARPA fund update. ARPA update. 17B will be the City of Covington fireworks. City of Covington fireworks. 17C, Commissioner Sanders is asking for the usage of ARPA funds. 17C. And also, we need to go into executive session following for about 10 minutes following zoning. Executive session following zoning. With those changes, I seek a motion that we approve the agenda tonight. Second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? It passed. Any opposed? Okay, passed 4-0. Thank you. Next is citizen comments. This is an opportunity that we allow citizens to make comments about agenda topics only. Agenda topics only. You have 3 minutes to do so. If you would, please come now and state your name and your address for the record, please. Agenda topics only.
Thomas Buckner, 650 Fleeter Drive. No, I just wanted to say, I'll be glad when y'all get through building all these parks and walking trails, then maybe we'll have some money to put on the roads.
What item are you talking about?
Hey, you got the recreation in there on the...
Yeah, we do. Go ahead. You're right, go ahead.
Well, that's all I got to say anyway.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Citizen comments, agenda topics only. You have 3 minutes to do so. Thank you. That portion of our agenda is closed. Next, we have the chairman's report. First, we want to read a proclamation for your hearing. Ms. Hamp, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, the proclamation reads, by the Newton County Board of Commissioners of Georgia, a proclamation, Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is this month in April. Whereas children are our most valuable resource and they are also our most vulnerable, all of Georgia's children have a right to be safe and an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow in an environment that fosters healthy development. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be prevented by supporting and strengthening Georgia's families, thus preventing the far-reaching effects of maltreatment and providing the opportunity for children to develop healthy, trusting family bonds, and consequently building the foundations of communities. And whereas strong and nurturing communities where all children grow up safe, people have healthy jobs and provide for those they love, and families receive the care they deserve, strengthen families, and promote child, family, and community well-being. And whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created within communities among citizens, human service agencies, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business sector. And whereas by providing a safe, stable, and nurturing environment for our children, free of violence, abuse, and neglect, we can ensure that Georgia's children will grow to their full potential as the next generation of leaders, helping to secure the future of this state and nation. Now, therefore, I, Chairman Marcelo Baines of the Newton County Board of Commissioners in the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the Newton County state of Georgia. Whereas, in witness therefore, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the Great Seal of Newton County, Georgia, this 4th day of April 2023.
Thank you, and we will be celebrating Child Abuse Prevention Month throughout the month of April. So please spread the word. Thank you so much. Next in the Chairman's report, we do have with us tonight Sheriff Brown. Sheriff Brown, if you would, please come on up. Sheriff is here to give us an update on some of the things that he think will help, on the things that he think will help make Fairview Park more safer. You will give him just a moment. Wait a minute. I think the sheriff had to take a quick call. There he is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Board of Commissioners, Ms. Jackie, all of you, it's an honor to be here today. Thanks, Butler, for your commentary. I'm here today to talk about the Fairview Park, but believe it or not, my sisters walked off with my folder, with my jump drive and everything, but she should be here very shortly, and we'll be able to proceed with that. I think she's at the caution light right here near the courthouse, so it's just a matter of that. Something came up.
You want to wait till after zoning? Or wait till after zoning?
Yeah, you can move forward on
We'll wait.
something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, we'll come back to the sheriff after we get done with zoning. Ms. Allen?
Okay, Chairman, we're going to move into our consent agenda, which is item number 8.
Thank you. I seek a motion that we approve the consent agenda, guys. Can I get a second? It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 4-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to move into item number 10, Information Services and/or Purchasing, requesting renewal of closed port email security agreement. It is budgeted. The cost is $7,452, and we do have our Director of Services, Mr. Greg Mann.
Good evening, Greg.
Good evening. Seeking your approval and agreement with JSCM Group in the amount of $7,452 for the annual renewal of our county closed port email security service. This service gives us our spam and threat filtering and also our data loss protection. On any given day, as of today, close of business today, just as a typical day, we receive 10,500 emails. 2,400 of those were blocked for one reason or another by this service. 800 were quarantined, where end users can either decide to either accept or reject the email, allowing 7,100 through. So this is a very, very powerful and very high security service.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? It passed 4-0.
Thank you.
Sir.
Mr. Chairman, we'll move forward to number 11, Tax Commissioner and/or Purchasing, requesting approval of Qmatic Corporation contract, new queuing system for Tax Commissioner's office. The cost is $40,000, and it is budgeted.
Is Mr. Jordan here?
I do not see Mr. Jordan, but just clarity, I believe this is the queue system when the citizens sign in to be registered.
Well, the commissioner.
Did you want a table?
Yeah, we're gonna ask, because we need to have him come up and give the information that's needed to move forward. So I seek a motion that we table this until the next meeting. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Stand table to our next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, we do have item number 12 that is also under the Tax Commissioner, consideration to waive penalties and interest for William and Leah Kemp. I do not see still Mr. Jordan.
Just to clarify, we did let him know that he needs to be here to present, right?
Yeah.
To our next board meeting. Can I get a second, please? It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards that we table this until the next board meeting, and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Stand table to our next board meeting.
Mr. Chairman, the next item we have is item number 13, Recreation and/or Purchasing, requesting approval of contract with Lowe's Design for design services for Community Water Park. We do have Mr. Jeff Prine, our project manager, to present.
Thank you. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening. So this is the first in a series of requests tonight for us to bring on design consultants to help us do first develop a building diagram and program, and then help assist us to go through the property assessment process of identifying sites, analyzing the sites, and then bringing back recommendations back to you. They also would be assisting us in public information meetings where we would first gather information from the public about what their expectations are for the projects, and then to help us to analyze the different sites and to come back with recommendations, as I said earlier.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do a little differently this time, because I did have two commissioners that reached out to me and they wanted to know more about the process. So what I'm gonna do, if it's okay, I'm gonna allow for a question. So I'm gonna allow the commissioners to ask questions before we move
Sure,
forward.
absolutely.
Commissioners, Commissioner Sanders.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. My concern with this, when we were trying to do design for the West Side Youth Facility, it was voted down until property, land came before. The commissioner said they wanted to know where it was going to be located first before design. So it looks like we are doing design as well when you voted down to have design for the West Side Youth Facility, and there's no location.
So what we did as the beginning of the property assessment is we put together a diagram that was based upon some input that we had from the public information meeting that you and I conducted. It identified the general ideas of the size of the building, the components that we made up of it, and then we did a diagram of how much acreage that would be necessary. That's the same first step that we're asking these consultants to
We
do.
didn't do a diagram or anything for the West
Yes.
Side Youth Facility, unless I didn't see it.
Yes, ma'am, and it's in the report that you guys have seen several times as we've gone through the property assessment. It's the very first page. Because it was the one where we identified the minimum acreage that we needed when we were going out to look for properties.
So maybe we did change the wording, because the wording was the exact same wording when we asked for design for the West Side Youth Facility and it was voted down. So maybe it needs to be, we're looking for the diagram portion, and then we're going to find land on the west side to bring back before the Board of Commissioners, but you did mention that part.
Yes,
To
ma'am.
decide on where that was gonna be located, and then of course including the community involvement, because community definitely needs to be involved in where they would like for this to be located.
Would it be helpful, Mr. Chairman, if I actually ran through the services and the approach that we were gonna take? Maybe that would help answer
Yes.
some of your questions. Okay.
Yep.
So for each of these three projects, the first step would be what we call building programming and adjacency diagrams.
Now, just the same process?
Same process for the water park,
Okay.
the two community parks, and also for the senior enrichment center. So in that, we would work with the design consultant to develop very specific information from the board and from the public about what the expectations are for the facilities. They would then use that to help develop kind of a building program. From that program, we would then do conceptual layouts that would give us the idea of how big the buildings would be, how much acreage they would need. We would then have our public information meeting #1, where myself, the department director, and whoever members of the board who'd like to be there would host a meeting with the public, and we would present that information to them. We would gather information from them about what their expectations are, and then from that, we would make adjustments to what we call the building program and the requirements for the sites. Then we would then move into the conceptual site diagram phase. In that, we would then work with the design consultants to diagram out the layout of the facilities. In the case of the parks, it would be the park components along with the facilities. That information would then be developed into we would then develop into a criteria of which we would identify candidate sites. We would talk about the specific needs, how they fit into the building program, traffic, utilities, topography, and other kind of elements that would be a part of that process. We would take that information out to the public in a second public information meeting, and we would ask them to give us their input about where they think the buildings should be or the facilities should go, gather that information, and then from that, we would generate a list of candidate sites. From that candidate sites, we would then come into a work session with the board. In that work session, we would present the candidate sites and get authorization from the board to go into the site analysis phase. We would then work with the consultant after the authority has been given to analyze each of the different candidate sites based upon how the building program and components fit on it and what the cost would be to develop those sites. We would then bring that back to the actual board and get you guys to give us we're ranking, and then we would then ask you to authorize us to move forward with a recommended site. So the idea is to help keep it open and moving and follow the desires of the public and also the board at the same time.
Is there any specific area that you're pinpointing for this to be located, or is it can be in any 5 districts?
That's going to be one of the first discussions that we'll have
Okay.
from you when we're getting started with the property assessment step.
Okay. I would
Right.
like that, my suggestion should come from the public, not the Board
Well,
of Commissioners.
what I mean by you, I mean
Yeah.
from you and the public, yes, ma'am.
And my other suggestion is please host the meeting at a time frame that constituents can get to it, because majority of your constituents here in Newton County work outside of the county, so they can't get to a 5 o'clock or a 5:30 meeting, so it needs to be about 6:30 or 7 o'clock for that meeting.
Obviously, we would make sure that the
Yeah.
public meetings are at a time and a place appropriately located where the public, and also advertise in a way that the public know that the meetings are forthcoming.
Okay, thank you.
So this particular, let me jump in right quick, Commissioner Henderson, then I got you next. But this particular project, couldn't go into all 5 districts, it had to go into either 2, 3, or 4.
Well, this
It's
is the
that
community
west side.
water park,
This is,
right?
I thought,
No, it doesn't have, it doesn't say West Side, it can go in any district. Based on the referendum, it just says Water Park.
I need to go like that, okay. Cool. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Ms. C. A question I want to ask is, will there be a charge once it's built to the community? It's my understanding, I think the one that we have over in Commissioner Mason District, that they have to pay a fee in order to go and enjoy the park. And there was not, I was thinking, since I was kind of on it, when we started talking about parks and districts, that because it was purchased with the splash money, didn't come from general fund, that it was supposed to be maintained and operated by the county, which it is, and free for the citizens or the kids who want to go in there and run around in the water or whatever. And I just don't have any good feelings about us building water parks or whatever we building, and then we have started attaching fees to it. The only fee that I would be, that we could have is learning our kids how to swim. They need a pool with instructors so they know how to swim, because I'm so tired of every summer, especially past summer, that kids from around the county and more in town, the ones that I know, go out and cannot swim and go to factory shows and they get drowned. So I think this should be a major priority for us here in Newton County, because I'm tired of going to funerals. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, well, listen, I seek a motion.
So moved.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any more discussion? Commissioner Sanders.
I just want to make sure we're looking at land in all 5 districts.
For the community water park, yes, ma'am, my best understanding is it's open to any district that you guys authorize us to evaluate.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor? It passes 4-0. We got 6 minutes to get this next one in.
We can get them in, let's go. I'm just picking, we'll go what we gotta do.
Go ahead.
All right, so, you wanna read it? Oh, so the next item is, to award a contracts to Lowe's Design to do similar type services for the South Side Community Park and the West Side Community Park. We put out one RFP to select the design consultant to do both, because they're very similar, but they are independent contracts. That's why we're asking you to award 2 separate contracts tonight.
Thank you, sir. With the same process.
Same process.
All right, I seek a motion, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 4-0. Thank you, sir.
All right, then the next one is to award a design-build contract for the design and construction of the new Senior Services Enrichment Center to Sunbelt Builders.
I seek a motion, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you, sir. Now we're going to have to go to zoning. Ms. Shana, we're gonna go to zoning. Yeah, yeah,
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Chairman, Board of Commissioners. We have just one public hearing case today. This is an appeal case. The original case was heard at the Planning Commission on February 14th. So the case number is APP 23-000001. The original case number was FP 22-000011. The appeal applicant is Jared Roundy. He is also the property owner along with his wife Amanda Rowdy, and he's also the original applicant. The property address is 65 Papa Stalk. It's on tax parcel 124-95 in District 1 and Little River watershed. So the request was to subdivide the parcel located at 65 Papa Stalk into 2 lots in order to build a single-family home on the second lot. The parcel is currently 4.88 acres, zoned agricultural residential for residential use, and it's not on an overlay at this time. Potential, and so there are no effects on the overlay, but the potential effects on the county. So the subdivision was platted in 1990 with 149 lots, and creating a new lot would increase the density in this subdivision. So the request tonight is an appeal to the Planning Commission's decision, and they recommended a denial back on February 14th in their meeting, but the request was to subdivide the parcel into 2 lots in the Countrywood subdivision, and that was the original request as well. This is the applicable standard, section 1415-065. It is in your staff packets. And the Planning Commission, so the history on it is that we had a meeting on February 14th with the PC. They voted by 4-0 to deny it. The case was tabled at the BOC meeting on March 21, so that additional information could be obtained and have the case re-advertised. And we have the information on the subdivision. We conducted a survey, as is required for final plat revisions if they're in a established subdivision, and where we sent out these surveys to every property owner in there, and they had an opportunity to say if they were in favor of the subdivision or not for this lot. So, so only 24% of the homeowners, that's 36 out of 149, responded to the letters that were sent out to the subdivision. So 24 out of 149, about 16%, including the applicant, gave their consent. 12 out of 149, or about 8%, did not consent. And there was no response from 113 property owners. It's about 75% of the homeowners. These are the comments that were stated at the Planning Commission meeting, where citizens, there was a public hearing, and citizens who were in opposition. Some of the concerns they had was that the new home will be seen from neighboring backyards. This is the additional home that was going to be built, and would be an invasion of privacy. And they're also concerned with removal of any trees affecting the buffer on Highway 278 that runs behind the subdivision. And the subdivision, they're saying that the subdivision was designed to have larger lots, and they're also concerned about the driveway access being granted on 278 if GDOT were to approve that. And the applicant, in his letter of intent to the BOC, he did respond to those, and that was included in your staff packets. This is the subdivision, in blue here, this is the subject lot in question, and it backs up to Highway 278. This is the original platted subdivision from 1990, and the applicant's parcel is up here, and it just goes through the different phases. I believe there were 3 phases total. This is the survey showing the tract and what the applicant had proposed to the Planning Commission. So the original house is sitting here, and they're proposing a stream naturally divides the lot from east to west. So they were proposing to place the home on this side of the property. and then to get access from Highway 278 for their driveway. This is a close-up. The parcel is an intermittent stream, so this only requires a 35-foot buffer according to the county ordinance. They're showing a 75-foot buffer. This is the home location. Then you have like the septic drain field there as well. So the conclusions, the findings. The applicant is proposing to subdivide a parcel, 2 acre size, just over 2 acres for each lot for a single family home. This is in the AR zoning in the Little River watershed, so the minimum lot size would be 2 acres. And the new home, they are proposing to put it within the appropriate riparian buffer, more than 35 feet. They did receive approval from environmental health to locate their septic there. The board should note that adding new lots, it will increase the density in this subdivision. And just continuing with the findings, at the time of the Planning Commission meeting, which was on February 14th, GDOT had initially issued a driveway permit. They did that back in August on Highway 278. They then rescinded this due to the highway access. And that was back, this is this month in April, I'm sorry. Right, and their concern was that the parcel, was also fronting the Highway 278. So upon further evaluation of their initial plans, which they had approved back in 1989, it does show that they had approved for a second access point off of the Secret Gardens Road, and I'll show you that in a second, which was going to be for a commercial entrance at the time. So they have since amended their decision to make a conditional approval of the driveway permit upon the county approving this final plat subdivision. The county, we have to honor what final plat was recorded at the time, because we would have approved it first for it to be recorded, and we only showed 1 entrance. Right, this is the plat we approved, it just shows the 1 entrance on this way. And there's only 1 lot here that had a driveway at the time, and all these others, they do not, they just back up to the highway. So we do have to honor that final plat. Now we'll go back to that. Right, approvals are required from external agencies such as GDOT. In this case, they have deferred that decision back to the county. And the final plat was approved by the department and recorded on January 31st, 1990, showing just the 1 main entrance on Highway 278. And like I said, just the 1 lot facing Highway 278. Today, generally for subdivisions like this, we issue approvals, all lots must face internal streets. We do not approve them, facing a highway like that if they're in a subdivision such as this. Recommended conditions. So due to the new developments, GDOT staff does not recommend approval for this new lot subdivision as proposed by the applicant in the survey provided at this time. And should the board decide to approve the request, staff has the following recommendations regarding this. And A, to the owner's agreement to restrict the use of the subject property as follows. 1, follow all recommendations of and obtain approvals from Environmental Health Department prior to any building permit being issued. 2, obtain approval and follow all recommendations from GDOT for the entrance on 278. 3, provide approved adequate ingress and egress for any new lot being subdivided. 4, submit for approval to Development Services for the revised final plat. And 5, all permits must be obtained from Development Services prior to building. And again, this is just the old plat was originally approved back in 1990. So this Secret Gardens Drive was this road here, and it ended up being just a cul-de-sac, and that is what the county approved. So it's the road to the far right. Yeah, this one here. This is the plans that GDOT approved back in 1989. So they had 1 entry here, and then this is the second road at Secret Gardens. But for this, however, was not what the developer went with, and we have to go according to the plat that was approved. So this was a plan, I guess originally they were thinking that it was supposed to be a commercial entrance, and of course that never happened. It just ended up being an entirely residential subdivision. And this is what it looks like today. This is the Secret Gardens Road. It terminates in a cul-de-sac over here. And then up here we have, this is Country Walk Road over here, which is the entrance into the subdivision. And this is the lot out here. Are there any questions for staff? If not, this is a public hearing, Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to open it up now. It's 7:36. We're going to open it up for the applicant and those that would like to speak in favor tonight. You have 10 minutes. Excuse me. You have 10 minutes to do so. If you would, please come at this time and state your name, your address for the record, please. The applicant and those that would like to speak in favor tonight. Good evening, sir.
My name is Jared Roundy. I'm the resident of the 65 Papa's Talk that I'm trying to subdivide. There's another lot next to this, about three houses down, that also has a driveway onto the highway. I'm trying to go about all current ordinances to make this work for my family. I'm attempting to build a beautiful home for my family, for my parents, on a parcel of land that otherwise has no reasonable use. Staff was in favor with the request originally, with recommendations that approvals were needed, of which all approvals have been provided and have met staff's requirements. I was encouraged by family, friends, and neighbors to appeal and to clarify my intention and support. There are over 149 residents in this subdivision, of which 92% of my neighbors approved or did not have any concern about the request to subdivide. I'm going to go ahead and share a few of the concerns. They are mentioned on page 12, but I just want those in the here to hear them as well. I enjoy the rural area surrounding 65 Papa's Talk, and like this subdivision request, I do not want, and I'm not requesting, any changes to existing zoning that may encourage apartment development, variances to ordinances, or to set new precedents. This request follows all zoning density regulations, which are 2 acres per lot. GDOT has measured traffic and safety conditions and deemed it satisfactory for a permit. This follows the pattern of an existing lot within the subdivision. Environmental Health has visited the lot and deemed it safe, not in a flood zone, and a more qualified lot for construction than when lots were originally platted in the subdivision, namely sufficient good soil. This subdivision request encourages individual citizens to follow existing ordinances. The code of ordinances specific to the ability to subdivide, I assume, was created in part to protect individuals and families from the financial burdens of purchasing new lots. In a currently artificially maintained low lot supply environment, the financial burden has risen by 200 to 300% in the area. It was also likely created to allow individuals to develop on land that otherwise has no reasonable use. This subdivision request will change the density in the County Walk neighborhood by less than 1%. There are no other lots in the County Walk subdivision available for subdivision based on existing stringent ordinances, or that would be available to add additional driveways. The residents of the subdivision elected to disband the covenants and HOA of the subdivision. This was done, I believe, to allow greater residential freedom within their own property. Platted lots in the subdivision that have been or are on the market are smaller in size than the proposed subdivided lots. I'm not a developer. This home will be in my family's name. I would hope that all citizens in Newton County, in a subdivision or not, may build additional residents on their property that may benefit their family, as long as they have no material impact and are wanting and willing to address all immaterial impact to others. I'm willing to talk to my neighbors. I've reached out to them in good faith. Receive approval or have no concern to a majority of surrounding citizens, which this lot has. And also follows all existing laws, ordinances, safety, and environmental impact requirements. I provided additional clarifying remarks within the document that was provided to you, but that's my hope, is that I can build another house for my family. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. We also allow 10 minutes for those that would like to oppose tonight. You may come at this time. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone would like to oppose tonight, please state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Jeff Spencer. This is my wife, Teresa. We live at 30 Old Blue Point, right next to Mr. Roundy. I'm just going to read a prepared statement, if that's okay. As I'm sure all you have, Teresa and I have worked since we were teenagers, saved our money for eventual retirement, paid off starter houses and such, finally got to retire in our present home in Country Walk. When we decided on Newton County, we took great care to find a place that we could both afford and would meet our needs. We finally found our dream home, a few acres surrounded by woods in a quiet community with large lots, far enough away from other houses and roads to allow for a quiet place to retire. This was our expectation. We then received notice that our neighbor up the hill, approximately 400 feet away, wanted to subdivide his lot to build a separate house. This action, per Article 4, Section 1415-065 of the Newton County Development Code, required the signed consent of all affected property owners. And as our and other affected neighbors' reply in the original meeting stated, we do not consent. The planning board agreed. It rejected Roundy's petition unanimously. Mr. Smith of the board stating that he did not like dividing lots in a subdivision, except perhaps in some sort of emergency, but stating this was certainly no emergency. For the record, I will restate our objection to the original proposal, plus new facts that have come to light. The proximity of any house built on this subdivided lot, as can be seen on the plat, would be essentially in our backyard, largely taking away any expectation of privacy. The many trees that would have to be cut down, and I scaled this off a print, from the size of their house and the drain field and the driveway, if you could put one in, is minimum 15,000 square feet. It would not only take away our privacy, but would remove much of the noise buffer from 278, which, bad enough now, will become much louder as planned development along the highway proceeds. Further, the noise from the house itself would add significantly to this problem. Access to the property could only come from Highway 278, since there is no other possible access from Papastock cul-de-sac. As stated by Mrs. Roundy in the minutes of the last meeting, they received critical approval from GDOT to put in a driveway onto Highway 278. Kedrick Collins, who I had quite a discussion with, the GDOT district manager, stated the disapproval was made in error by the area manager, Michael Hanna. Mr. Collins stated that Mr. Hanna, subordinate to him, did not do proper due diligence in this case, as GDOT does not allow driveway access for many subdivisions, period. Further, Tammy Hall of the GDOT legal department stated that the permit was void and no new application had been received. Additionally, the proposed new lot is located on the highway side of a state-recognized stream near the bottom of a 40-foot deep ravine, cutting it off from any access to any other streets. Therefore, no access possible to the property from anywhere. This subdivision was originally designed to have large lots, especially toward Highway 278, to provide privacy and noise abatement for residents. To allow lots to be cut in half would destroy its unique character and design. This intent is actually stated in the original covenants, quote, "No lot shall be subdivided, and each lot shall be restricted to only one residence per lot." That's a quote from the original covenants of the subdivision. The proposed revision, while increasing the value of Randy's property, would decrease both the monetary value and the livability of our lot. Both Teresa and I are very live and let live people. We believe in personal freedom. But one thing we can't abide is one person enriching themselves at the expense of others. For these reasons, therefore, we respectfully ask that the ordinance as presently in place be enforced with no exception granted. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else would like to would like to oppose tonight? Anyone else would like to oppose tonight? Anyone else would like to oppose tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. Shane, if you would, please come on back up. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I ask Ms. Applewhite questions before or after we have a motion in a second?
Go ahead. You can go ahead next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Applewhite, so the DOT rescinded their approval. Is that what you told us this evening? Is that what you're telling us? And put
Yes.
that back to the county for that decision on the access from Highway 278?
Yes, they rescinded it. In my conversations with them, it's also included in the email correspondence on your desk. And that's my conversation with them yesterday. And I had a conversation with them again today, and they were saying that initially they had 5 access points for this entire subdivision. That clearly is not what the developer went with at the time. And the county approved this layout. So when I spoke, and I actually spoke with Kedrick Collins as well as Brock Tyson, and their conclusion was that they would have, they can default back to their original design, which is clearly not gonna happen now, because you have a cul-de-sac there instead, and the subdivision is built out. And then they also said that they would be comfortable with whatever the county decided at this point here. So they were looking at what they had approved previously, and they were looking at, that extra entrance in terms of, if they could allow the driveway or not. So they were looking at that, but then they said, whatever the county decided, they will be comfortable with that, as long as we didn't approve a commercial entrance up there.
Okay, thank you. So does this zoning and these covenants, I know the covenants are with the subdivision, but does this zoning allow for an auxiliary structure, a detached in-law suite, if you would? Is that allowed in this particular zoning?
It is. They can do an in-law suite or a guest home, maximum size of 800 heated square feet.
So was that option offered to the applicant?
It was. I did discuss that with Mr. Roundy.
So my concern is, with my fellow commissioners, is, we have, when we create subdivisions, plat subdivisions, we have what I would call a mutual obligation between the people that move there and the county government, state government, if you will. And I believe when Mr. Spencer, I agree, when you move in a place like this, you buy a certain size lot for a reason, and it's not to further subdivide. If we set a precedent here, and this may have happened already in this county, I don't know about it if it has, but I would hate to be the one that set a precedent, be the board that set a precedent, and then we've got subdivisions all over the county being subdivided further, increasing the density even more. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to deny application APP 23000001.
Is there a second? Second. It's been motioned that we deny this, and it's been by Commissioner Edwards, and it's second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor? All in favor? Any opposed? It's 2-2. I'll break the tie. I'm in favor also to deny. It's 3-2.
Thank you, Chairman. And that brings us to the close of our public hearings, but I do see the next item is mine as well, so may I just go ahead into that?
You sure can.
So it is a street light petition. It's a resolution number R040423, and it's a resolution provided for the installation of street lights and the assessment of annual costs of maintaining and operating the said lights against property served by those lights. And this is for the Valley at Twin Rivers subdivision phase 3. And they're requesting for a street light district be created for this phase.
I seek a motion, please.
So moved.
It's a motion by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Just one. I've had, recently I had some of my constituents wanted a streetlight petition, and I'm trying to remember, do they come over to your office or do you give out So how would could they apply for that?
Oh, yes, sir. So we require 51% of the property
Absolutely.
owners in the subdivision to sign a petition. So usually a representative from the community they can come to our office to collect that.
Okay.
We'll prepare the list for them, and then they have to go out and get the signatures.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor? It passed 5-4.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Next, we're gonna revert back to the chairman's report. Sheriff, if you guys are ready, if you would please come on up. Thank you for being here tonight, sir.
Thank you. Just want to talk with you. I was contacted by you in reference to Fairview State Park. Here tonight, what you see here tonight is you see different photo shots of the park. Excuse me. The one on your far left should be facing from the north entries of the park. The one to your right is going to be the sitting area there as you drive up into the park. The next one is a night view of the park. And what you see, go back for a second if you will, what you see in this, what's being depicted in this is you will see it's aided, what light you see is actually aided by headlights from our vehicles, just to give you an indication of how dark it is out there at night. Both on your left is a night view as well as a night view from your right, where the sitting area. And if you notice there to your right, you see little square lights there. Those lights there is also lights from our office aiding the visibility of lighting in that area at night. We were up there for an incident. This is more of a night view to your left. Again, this is a close-up. The square light you see is a light that belonged to the Office of Sheriff, and both of those. And if you see way back, you see almost look like candles burning in the background. And this is what you see out there at night on both sides. The one to your left is, if you notice, the ground itself has a little bit more visibility, and it is visibility because of some aid from some assistance in lighting that we had there. Here is another shot, these depicting facing the southwest side and also the west side of the park. This is a daylight shot. Again, it's clear during the day, but if you look to your far, particularly the one on your left, if you would look to your far back corner, you'll see trees and different vegetations back there, which we'll talk about that as we move forward. Here you will notice the light posts that are currently in place. Often they're broken out by vandals, and you will notice there's an open path there. So we'll talk about what we should do regarding the light system there. Again, those another light post, and I believe there may be damages to that one as well. Those light posts are less than 8 feet off the ground. The average person can reach up and damage that without problems. Here again, you see facing the north entry as well as the south entry, west entry, and the northeast of the park. It gives you a overview, a field of view of what it looked like in the daytime, and we'll talk about that. But as you look further back, you'll notice that the tree lines, you can barely see daylight from just looking at it from there. We talk about the number of incidents that we've had up there. The number of incidents that we've had up there is showing there, and those are just the ones that we cataloged that actually occurred in the park. However, what we have realized over the years, that there are a number of leading factors or incidents that the origin of it is there in the park, and it leaves the park and goes elsewhere within the community. A prime example, just a couple of weeks ago, we had an incident up there that is, the origin of it started there, but it ended up in Rockdale County. So that is a holding area for criminal activity. In 2018, we had a total of 5 cases. In 2019 was a total of 16. 2020 was a total of 3, and 2021 total of 4. 2022 a total of 12, and 2023 as of this day, we have cataloged 5 incidents that are involving just there close to the park itself. Now, what we want to talk about now is these are recommendations. However, I'm sure there's many other recommendations that could be voiced by others. But what we're looking at from the law enforcement point of view, we're looking at if you would add more motion or smart lights that would aid law enforcement and give the community a sense of safety. Adjust the height of the lights or the additional lights to prevent individuals from breaking out or damaging the lights. And also, by breaking out the lights, it reduced the visibility there in the park. We talked about removing the trees, vegetation. There's large trees and brushes that can create an escape route and hiding locations for individuals to commit criminal acts. I think if you would clear out those additional trees, brush, and vegetation, it will improve visibility, so there's a clear sight plan. If you would look there now, in particular the one to your right, you can barely see through hedge of trees there. You can barely see through the tree line there. Also, a clear sight line allows visitors to see others from far away. I think that's just a feel of natural safety when you can see your surroundings from all 4 points. It would also give the community a clear field of view, give responding officers a clear sight line, and give people a way of feeling safe and ways to exit safely in case something should happen. We would like to see added live footage camera system that can be controlled by law enforcement personnel. Live feed cameras, archive videos, footage can be accessed and viewed through smartphone, tablets, and laptops, and et cetera. And this could aid law enforcement in solving problems or crimes immediately, especially if we respond to the area and there's cameras, we can pull up the various criminal acts. And also, I think it would be wise to add signs in the park there stating that the park is being monitored by police video cameras, and that these signs could also give them notification that it's recording 24/7 of any criminal activity. I believe fencing is another one we want to talk about. I think fencing the entire park can give the appearance that residents' houses are fenced and separate from the park and the homeowner's yard. That would eliminate someone, and I think I would feel safe if there was a fence on the left side of me, as well as a fence on the right side of me and in the back, that a person could not walk from one side to the other and commit a crime and then go back. I think that in itself would give homeowners a sense of security, that people can not feel freely to walk from the park into their backyards. Fencing in the park will reduce the escape route for criminals. When we respond to the park, if there is something that is a criminal act that is going on, then by being fenced in, it would eliminate that person from being able to escape. Another piece that we looked at is park and recreation. I think park and recreation should have designated hours to include a gate blocking off the parking lot and give a single point of entry into the park. What we see at night, there's an open parking lot. In that open parking lot, given any time of the night, and I was up there this morning at 5 a.m. in the morning, you have cars that are parked in that parking lot. So I think if we could put some form of barrier that can be closed off, and like I say, with designated hours by Parks and Recreation, I believe that would also help reduce some of the activities that are going on up there. And I would say in closing, law enforcement, recreation, the citizens, as well as all of you, anytime there is something of this nature being brought into the community, I believe that we all should be stakeholders, and we all should have a buy-in to say what's going to benefit, who's going to benefit, and who's going to be harmed by this. And we must remember that it's all of our responsibilities to maintain the community and make sure that it's safe at all times. I can go back and say, I'm not sure when the park was put in, but I do know that we had reservations about it when it was being put there. And hindsight is always 20/20. And I want to do what is best for the citizens. I want to do what's best for Newton County. And it is only a holding post for a lot of activities out of Rockdale County and other counties to come here and commit criminal acts.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to take maybe 4 questions. We got 4 y'all here tonight. 4 questions because the sheriff is on a tight schedule tonight. He's working on a sensitive situation, and we got to go into executive session and get out in a timely manner. So,
thank you.
4 questions. Who want to go first? Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you so much, Sheriff, for coming in and bringing this information for the constituents that live in that area, as well as on Fairview Road and Fairview Estates community. I appreciate, because some of the things that you said was some of the things that the state park director told us in 2021 that we needed to do with this park. So thank you so much for confirming that. Now, I do have a question, your suggestion. When you said fencing in the actual park, do you think there needs to be another entrance? Because we are inconveniencing the residents for having the traffic flow through their subdivision. Do you think we need to put another entrance somewhere?
No, I'm speaking of just the outline of the park itself. Make it so that they can only come in from the Chandler Circle, I believe, with the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Have it so that they can only come in there.
Okay, so you believe it's safe enough for residents that do not live in the subdivision? It's okay for them to go through? You guys are okay with
Right,
that?
it's okay for them to
Okay,
drive through.
just want to make sure.
Right, but the actual park itself and the parking lot, I believe it should be fenced in.
Okay,
And better lighting.
parking lot should be fenced in, yes.
Anyone want to go next? Commissioner Henderson.
Quick question, how tall should the fence be?
I will leave that up to Park and Recs. They are more familiar with that. I think they have those fence around their areas, but I would go a little bit taller than I am. I'm a little over 6, and I would go a little bit over 6.
Thank you. Commissioners, y'all have anything? All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, we need to move into executive session. Can I get a motion, please? I'm sorry, per litigation, yeah. Who made the motion? Commissioner? It's a motion by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. All in favor? I think we stand in executive session, guys. Y'all, if we can do this pretty quick and get them out of here today, it'd be great. Guys, I seek a motion that we move back into our regular scheduled meeting, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Thank you. Passes 4-0. We are back in our regular scheduled meeting tonight. I'm going to use Chairman's privilege tonight to take us back to item number 11 and 12 tonight. I know we tabled those. I'm going to use Chairman's privilege to open those back up. Our tax commissioner is here tonight. Ms. Hamp, if you would.
Mr. Chairman, item number 11 is requesting approval of Qmatic Corporation contract, new queuing system for tax commissioner's office. The cost is $40,000, 20,000 ARPA, 20,000 general fund, and yes, it is budgeted, presented by Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I do apologize for my tardiness. I think where we're at is the new Qmatic system. As you know, we rolled out a system last year, which was kind of helping us help with online appointment making, and it was a little. It was cheaper, and now what I'm hearing the citizens are, some citizens, they like the ticket, so the Qmatic is going to allow us to have the ticket and also continue us to actually grow the department by way of online registering and also scanning barcodes. So that's the reason why we're going with this this new system we're looking into. And the price also include equipment and all software.
Thank you, sir. I seek a motion, please, commissioners. Can I get a second? It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have also item number 12, where Commissioner Jordan is going to present for consideration to waive penalties and interest for Mr. William and Leah Kemp.
Just a little background on it. I think the Kemps purchased the property in 2020. Since taking office, my standard practice is we always mail a actual tax bill to the old owner and the new owner. And even this year, we've done it twice. I think the Kemps purchased this property in 2020, and I don't know if the previous administration done that or not. So he's saying he didn't get a tax bill. So therefore, with our aggressive nature and how we were pursuing delinquent taxes, so this 2020 bill never was paid. So naturally, it took the penalties and interest, but he did come in and pay it, everything. But now I think he's seeking reimbursement for the penalties and the interest because he said he never received a tax bill. But I don't know.
What district is this?
He's in maybe 5. He's on maybe 5.
5?
Yes.
Commissioners, I seek a motion, please.
I have a quick question to Commissioner Jordan. I mean, what's your recommendation on this? I'm mad. I don't know.
Again, I can't speak on the practice of the previous administration,
Okay.
but I know since taking office, we always mail out tax bills to the new owner and the old owner of record. So I can't say if this happened or not.
So do you have anything to prove that they didn't get it or anything like that?
Well, only thing I have is his word.
Okay.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we pay him the $78.12 and interest of $221.10.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Henderson that we pay him. Can I get a second, please? It's been second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? Commissioner Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm not going to get my tax bill this year, probably, so I'm only kidding.
Trust me, you're going to get a tax bill twice.
So, my concern is, and I have sympathy if they didn't, I understand that things happen. My concern is, again, our precedent. So, I guess I'm gonna support it, but I understand you're just bringing what you have before us, and that's,
Yes.
happened a long time ago, but, we may have to look at how we handle this in the future going forward, so, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you.
If I may, I agree with you. I mean, that's something we probably need to sit down and look at and see how we handle this. Because, matter of fact, we may have 2 or 3 more people coming, and we
Yeah,
probably
we-
need to sit down and see how we want to handle this going forward.
We're gonna have to ask, and I'm gonna jump in right quick. We're gonna ask Patrick to help us with a policy because, and I do believe that he probably didn't get it, his
Right.
bill, but you know, anybody can come up here and say, hey, we didn't get our bill, and then
Mhm.
we have to do the same thing for them as well.
Correct.
All right, thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, we're on item number, we're on item number 17A, iParametrics, ARPA funds update from Ms. Kennedy Shannon.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
How is everyone?
Great. How about yourself?
Great. All right. So I'm here to give you guys some updates on all of the ARPA-funded projects as well as the grants.
Okay.
So I'll start with the emergency rental assistance. To date, we have served 158 households to the tune of $742,000 as of April 3rd. That breaks down to $38,729 for electricity utility payments, $4,900 for gas utility, $57,000 for water utility, and $693,000 for rental and mortgage assistance. I'm trying to remember how much we allocated for emergency rental assistance. I thought it was $1 million.
I thought it was $1 million as well.
So that being said, my recommendation would be that we close the application period on April 30th. That would give enough applications in the system, because we still have applications in the system, for us to get to that $1 million mark. We may go a little bit over it, but we've got to cut it off at some point in time. So that would be my recommendation. That too would allow us to free up the staff that are currently working on that program to then move to the next program that we're going to launch, which is the senior home repair program. So I kind of want to start a program, finish it, and then move into another one and not just have all these programs open. So my recommendation would be that we cut off the application period for emergency rental assistance to April 30th and process any eligible applications that are in the system after that date.
Okay. Do we need a vote for that? We do. Commissioner, we do need a vote for that. Can I get a motion on the floor? You can. Okay. Can I get a second? Second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Commissioner Henderson.
Well, first of all, thank you, Ms. Kennedy. It's been a few of my constituents that called me personally, and believe it or not, I gave them your personal, I believe your personal telephone number, and because they were calling me, and I was telling them to call you.
It's
and
fine.
you got to call. It's not funny, but you know we laugh a little bit. Jason said, "I really need some help. So they're going to put me out those, and so I need some help." And I tell you, my heart went out, and I had to do something. So I gave your number, and for them it worked. And then when they couldn't get you, guess who number I gave them? Miss Jackie's. And they would call Miss Jackie. And but make a long story short, I'm very appreciative for the people in the underserved areas in Newton County, not only in District 4, and I'm going to mention District 3, but in other underserved areas of people whom we are trying to help, who really need help. And I'm just going to put a little pin there and say that I believe that the commissioners could have did it a little bit better, because I would have been and spent that money about 2 months ago. I think that, so I guess the question I would kind of lead up to was how many people in the underserved area, because I remember you telling us that the Arthur Fund mostly was, not mostly, but there was a bigger priority in the people underserved. So can you give me an estimate?
I can get you that information.
Yeah.
I don't have it here, but I can definitely get it for you. And if we pause this one or stop this one, it doesn't stop us from doing a round two. If later in the year you want to do another emergency rental assistance program, we can do that. You can put another $1 million in there, or however much you want to put in there, and you can change the parameters, however you want to do it. We've had clients that do multi-phase emergency rental assistance programs. So they'll do it for 4 months, and then they'll do it later towards the winter months and do another program. So you've got more than enough money still sitting to the side to be allocated, and more than enough runway as far as time is concerned for ARPA to do a similar process.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you so much, Attorney Shannon, for providing the information. Just a quick question. Are you guys still doing the office hours? Because I'm getting calls from individuals who are going to the office hours as far as where you have set up for the laptops and all of that, and if nobody is there to help them. So can you explain that?
So there are availability of people in the senior center to help with seniors to apply. Part of what one of my asks is today is that we're able to partner with Laura Bertram and provide some on-the-ground assistance for applicants. That's one of my asks, is that we be allowed to hire 2 part-time individuals that will be in the libraries. I think there are 2 libraries. They will be at the library at the one adjacent to Dobbs Park, and then the one at Floyd Street. And they would be there 3 days a week from 10 to 1 and 5 to 8 would be the hours, so that we could get the people who work. If they want to come after work, they can get assistance with applying. And this would be for all the Newton County programs, not just emergency rental assistance. It would be for senior, home repair, small business assistance, any of the programs. That way we have a physical presence here to help individuals apply, because right now we're just depending on the senior center and the library making computers available, but there's really nobody to help guide somebody through an application right now. And that's what we're asking for, to be able to partner with Laura Bertram and her group to hire those 2 part-time individuals. Yes, so that's one of my asks as well.
Okay, so I think that's the misunderstanding, because a lot of people thought that there was someone going to be there to help them. I didn't know that there wasn't anyone.
Nope, it's just access to computers. If they don't have a computer, there's access to computers, but there's not someone physically there to assist them. But if we partner with Laura and her group, there will be someone there to physically assist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask one quick question. So let me ask you, did you speak with Laura about the locations?
I did. I spoke to Laura, and then we also spoke to the director of the library, Lace Keaton, to see if it would be okay, if the hours would work, and if they had the equipment. And my understanding is they were in agreement.
Okay.
Yes.
So we may add another location.
Okay.
So we may add another location.
Yep, that works. Whatever you guys see fit. I think at least 2 individuals, though. That way, because, once we do senior home repair, that's really going to be a big one, because a lot of our seniors just aren't very good with technology, and them having a place where they can actually go and get assistance applying. The senior center has committed resources too, but having additional resources, I think, would be of assistance.
Let me get Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. And Commissioner Sanders, that was a great question, and it was a great answer. But I think we need to have someone here, or either at the administration building. So I think it would be more convenient. Maybe possibly 3 persons. I think what you were talking about, great idea. Yeah. And have one here, over there, Denny Dobbs at the library over that way, and somebody somewhere else, maybe middle ways. And so just make it convenient for our citizens, because they were part of the problem. Reason why I was having them to call you was because someone could navigate through the phone or through the computer the information to you, so that you might be able to help them. And so I thought that was what we're lacking. Hopefully
I'm all for that, because it'll help us, it'll help our case managers. Yeah, and we would provide the training to the individuals on how to do the applications, and then we would also provide a dedicated customer service line. So if they have any issues on site, we can fix it and help them upload the documents. So I think it's a good idea.
I'm gonna look for some space in the admin building.
Right. And one last thing, if I may just piggyback off that, if we're going to help our senior in hopefully fixing their homes, I think we had said about $15,000, if I'm not mistaken. If my memory serves me right, it's something that sticks out to me. I believe that we need more money to be added to that program for our seniors, because it costs you around about $10,000 to put a roof on your house. So if you're going to do some repairs to help someone whose house is leaking, and I think it's gonna be more than $15,000. I think we look at it and need to go up on it, to just give a little more assistance to help those people who really need help, which is our seniors.
And since we mentioned that, just FYI, our projected launch date for the low-income and senior home grant repair program will be May 15th, between May 15th and June 1st is when we plan to go ahead and launch that program. And then after that would be the Small Business Assistance Grant Program, and that would go between June 15th and July 1st is the launch date for Small Business Assistance. We want to make sure that we're not launching all these programs at the same time. One, because you have to pay staffing for all of those programs and all those case managers to review, and it can get pretty expensive. So that's it for emergency rental assistance. Newton County Youth Commission.
So we got a motion.
sorry.
on-
Oh, sorry, there was a motion, I'm sorry.
One more discussion question, then we're gonna take a vote. Commissioner Sanders.
Yes, sir. What was the expected cost you were trying to pay for the individuals to sit at the locations?
They were gonna be $20 an hour, was the hourly rate, part-time.
And I just wanted to, you said that you were gonna push the small business back to June, because originally it was supposed to be in April and May. So we've been getting swamped calls from small businesses saying, what about us? So it's constantly getting pushed back and back and back, and these businesses also need assistance as well. So that's my only concern, because they were originally told April, then they were told May, and now it's
gotcha.
June.
We're trying to prioritize the programs, like emergency rental assistance was the priority, and then nonprofits, which we're running now is live, was the other priority, and then senior home repair. So we tried to rank them according to the priority, and unfortunately, small business assistance kind of was at the bottom of the list. We'll try to get it sooner than that, but that's why we want to wrap up ERAP, so we can move that staff to senior home repair. And then once we're done with nonprofit, we move that staff to the small business assistance program. Because like I said, you've got all these case managers, they have to review all of those files, all of that documents, and that stuff, it gets expensive.
Do you happen to know where we are now as far as the total amount we have spent on consultant fees for?
I do not know, but I will say this. When we responded to the RFP, there was never any mention of iParametrics actually running the programs for you. We were only supposed to be consultants. This is very unique in that for some of our other clients, we don't necessarily run their programs. We help, like Salvation Army, right? Say for instance, they were running your program, we would assist them, but they would do majority of the work and pay the staff. But because of the unique situation that we found ourselves in, we were asked to then take on and run those programs on your behalf, which we don't have a problem doing. It's just that when we initially bid this RFP and when you released the RFP, it did not say administering the programs. So that being said, I know we've spent quite a bit. I don't think we're at the total of the task order, but we have spent quite a bit, because each of these programs you have to pay case management staff. And that's 40 hours a week. They have to look at these applications, eligibility, reviewing documentation, income documentation. Right now we have 3 full-time case managers on emergency rental assistance. We have 2 full-time case managers that are queued up for nonprofit assistance. We have no case managers for Youth Commission, because that was a really small program, and you guys were going to be reviewing those applications. So, and then I anticipate we would have 3 full-time case managers for senior home repair, and the same 3 for small business assistance. But as it stands now, with ERAP and nonprofit assistance, that's roughly $4 million that we will be giving away. And if you take the average 10% administrative cost for running a program like that, that's $400,000. That's our total task order right there. So, and that doesn't even count low-income senior home repair or small business assistance.
So it's a possibility, and I understand we got to pay consultants to
Yep.
do what we have to do. So it's a possibility we're going to go over the 500.
It's
which
a possibility. It was like
gives
4
us-
something. It's a possibility we may have to come back.
Which
because-
gives us a roundabout that the money that we have sitting there, my fellow colleagues, we shouldn't be exhausting it, because we may be going over.
You should keep a little bit there. Because
So let's do this so we can actually talk about that
Yep.
if that needs to be a conversation. Let's get this motion off the floor, and that way if we need to talk about the finances, we can. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Okay, so we're
Yes.
ending ERAP at April 30th. Gotcha.
Yes.
Can we get another motion to,
Moving to the seniors.
no, I'm sorry, because we talked about the community liaisons with Laura Beecham.
Oh, yeah,
Can we get a motion and
That's right.
permission to enter an agreement with her to hire individuals locally?
Yep. Can I get, somebody make that motion, please?
So move, I'll make that motion, because I have a question.
Okay. Can I get a second? Who second? It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders and second by Commissioner Edwards. Discussion, Commissioner Sanders?
Yes, do you know how long that we may need, I know it's gonna last for that project, because that's gonna determine the cost. So I'm looking at my figures are running through my mind.
So what I envision it is that they would literally be there to help with all of the programs, because mainly senior home repair, because those are gonna be the ones that have to have the help. We've had a few calls with emergency rental assistance where people don't have computers. You can do the application through your phone, but sometimes their phone wasn't working, so they would go to a family member's house and we would kind of talk them through the application. I don't know if we'll need that assistance for small business assistance, but if you would want it, then they would have to be there for small business too, so.
So that would depend on you. How is your staff, your workforce dealing with nonprofits? It's gonna be the same process. You're looking at the same information as one is a nonprofit, one is
It's
a
gonna be the
for-profit.
same with nonprofits. So there are gonna be some smaller nonprofits who aren't that tech savvy, or some smaller churches that aren't that tech savvy that may need help. And they may wanna have to come in and physically have somebody help them do the application. So in that regard, you would have to have somebody locally for that too. I mean, I just think having a local presence for all of these programs is the best thing to do. And that's why we said it would be part-time for those hours. And it wouldn't be every day, it would be 3 days a week, from 10 to 1 and 5 to 8. So that would allow the morning people to come that work in the evening and vice versa. And they can come and it would be walk-in, they would be able to get assistance on any of the programs that they are applying for. And the people there would be trained on all the applications that are currently open for Newton County to help.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So do we know exactly how soon we can roll out the assistance if we are able to approve? We know the senior center is already assisting. If we're able to approve tonight, Laura Bertram and her team, do we know how quickly we can get them trained, up to speed, where we can actually get them in place where they can be able to assist? Because there are some small businesses that I've received calls from
That are gonna need help?
I mean, not small businesses,
Nonprofit.
nonprofits that do need some help.
Okay. My understanding is that she's got some people already identified. It was just, I had to come to you guys and pitch it and get permission. As far as the training, that's a week for my staff, working with her staff, training them on all the applications. They're really simple for the most part, and it's just helping them understand how to upload the documentation that they need to upload. But other than that, I don't see why we couldn't do it in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? All in favor? It passed 4-0, thank you.
Okay. Next, I just want to give you guys an update on Youth Commission. We've got 8 applications, okay? So we need to get the word out here to these youth. They need to apply. The deadline was the end of March. We're going to extend the deadline to the end of April in hopes that we can get the word out. I will say I think 5 of the applications came from your district, Commissioner Saunders. I got 1 from JC, and it was 1 from Commissioner Edwards. Those were the responses that I got thus far. So if you guys could reach out to the schools and youth facilities in your districts and encourage them to apply. Yeah, question?
So,
Commissioner Sanders?
I didn't reach out to the schools, 'cause I thought you guys were gonna do it, so that might be where the ball was dropped.
So
I just did my district.
okay. So my understanding was that we did some social media posts. Brian's been putting it on the website. We blasted it out. We can contact the local schools and send it to them. We don't
I
have a
thought that
problem
was
doing that.
I thought
Yeah.
that was the original plan
No.
was to reach out to the schools to promote through them.
We don't have
I
a
think-
problem doing that.
I think we already have. I think Brian has already.
I think Brian's
Brian's
already done that in some
yeah.
capacity, but we don't have a problem doing that, because that's what we're gonna do actually with nonprofit. My staff is literally looking at all the nonprofits that are registered in Newton County and all the churches, and we're sending like a blast email to say, hey, this money's here. It's $3 million sitting here. Y'all better come get some. So that'll be going out next week. So we can do something very similar for Youth Commission as well. But I think extending the deadline to the 30th is a good thing to do so we can get some more applicants in there. But we'll definitely reach out to the schools and let them know that this is available.
Well, I'm glad District 3 is on it. Shout out to District 3.
So we don't need a motion for that. So
All right. Nope, no motion for that. We just want to extend the application deadline to the 30th. Newton County Nonprofit Assistance. I've got 6 applications, y'all. 6. 25 registrations. So in order to apply, you first have to register. There are a series of pre-qualification questions. Commissioner Saunders had reached out because there was an issue of some nonprofits not realizing where they failed the pre-qualification. And so we made an adjustment so that the system now tells them what of the pre-qualification questions that they failed that won't make them eligible. But these 25 registrations are people who have passed the pre-qualification. You can't register unless you've passed pre-qualification. So we sent an email to them saying, hey, we saw your registration, but we need you to apply. So the same thing, we're reaching out to the area nonprofits, area churches, and kind of getting that information out there. I'm hoping that some are listening tonight to know that it's live and it's on the website. Again, that's the General Nonprofit Assistance Grant, that's the Youth Nonprofit Assistance Grant, and that's the Food Pantry Program. And combined, all those programs are $3.1 million worth of funding that we're giving to the community. So we want to encourage them to go ahead and get those applications in so that we can get that money out into the community.
I had spoke to some nonprofits, and I think they did not understand the language. When it said occupational license, because people normally say business license or business permit, they mark no. And so I said, no, that means like a business license. So they don't know the terminology.
Gotcha. My
So
understanding is that's what it's called, the occupational tax
Yes.
certificate. So we wanted to call it what you guys legally call it. But I get your understanding.
Yeah,
There's
they
a
didn't know, and-
confusion about what that means.
Yeah.
But the ones we've had thus far, I think most have been churches. And they've completed the applications just fine. We've got a few that are ready to be approved and to be paid of that 6. So we'll get the word out to those nonprofits as well.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did we say, I don't remember writing it down, when we are projected to close the nonprofit program?
So nonprofit just opened.
Right.
So my understanding is that we're going to keep nonprofit open until, I think, end of April.
April 30th.
April 30th was the plan. If we don't see the number of applications we need to, we can always extend it. We have that option. But I personally anticipated the floodgates to be opening once we went live for the nonprofit assistance. But I'm thinking once we get the word out, it'll definitely be an influx of applications coming in because we give preference to those that are in the qualified census tracts, but, it's based on first come, first serve. You apply, you get approved, the money goes out. So once that 3.1 million is gone, in which each of those categories are expended, the only way that we can give any more money is if you guys put more money in those categories. So, and the application is very simple. There is not really a burden for the first category, nonprofit assistance. They just have to show us that they lost money. A 20 to 21 tax return or a 21 to 22 tax return. If they lost $30,000, they get a $30,000 grant. If they lost $10,000, they get a $10,000 grant. We just have to demonstrate the loss. And then for youth and food pantry, they have to demonstrate that they had a youth program in existence, let us know what they want to do with that youth program, provide us with a budget and a write-up of what they want to do, and they can get the grant. So it's very easy to get it.
Okay.
We tried to make it as easy as possible.
Commissioner Sanders.
I have a question.
Yes.
And the commissioners also received that same email from, I can't think of her name. I apologize. I can't remember her name right now, from FMLA, you know what organization I was trying to mention. They're with the school system, but the school is considered a nonprofit. Can those organizations within the school, because they came before us before to receive ARPA funds for the kid and youth. I don't know if you remember that organization in the beginning.
Look at the application. I don't think,
So-
unless they're listed as an excluded organization.
Okay.
I think hospitals were listed and some other ones were listed, but I don't know if schools were, so I have to check and see. And if you want to change that, that's up to you. But we mainly, they are technically nonprofit organizations, so. Yeah.
You'll definitely find it out because there are individual organizations within the school that have youth programs. So I want to know if they was available.
We require that they're up to date on their 990 filings.
Okay.
But churches don't have to file 990s. So as long as they can provide us with a profit and loss statement for each year, we're good to go.
Thank you.
Last thing, during the emergency rental assistance program, we've had quite a few people attempt fraud. And I'm not gonna sit up here and lie to you, okay? They have tried everything. One of the issues that we're having is that this is all done online. So we don't sit down face to face with the individual and see that they exist. My staff have turned into detectives trying to look at IDs, and the state of Georgia has like 6 or 7 different ID templates that are allowable and legal. And so what we want to institute is, and I'm not sure some of you have done this before, but there's technology where we can send a link to your phone, you take a picture of the front and back of your ID, you scan your face, and it tells me if you're really you. We want to institute that for all these programs where we're cutting checks to people, because we've had situations where people have provided fake IDs and we've caught it because the font was off, or, you know, just by the grace of God, we caught it, because some of them we might not catch and we might pay. But the IRS uses this website, this software, some other institutions use it. The cost would be $1.20 per application, per applicant. We would only do this once an application is deemed eligible and right before we make a payment. So we wouldn't just be running verifications on everybody. It's only once we've done the work and determined that you're eligible, the last step before we mail that check is us sending you this link and you verifying who you say you are. So we want to institute that with all the ERAP programs, nonprofit, anybody whose name is going on that check, we want to verify that you are who you say you are, because it's quite a few people trying to game the system and come through, and we want to just make sure that this money is actually getting into the hands of the individuals that it's supposed to. That $1.20 cost is no markup from us, it's the cost from the supplier, and it's based on the number that you use. There's like no, you don't have to buy no contract or anything, it's just pay per click. So the amount that we charge would be billed to you at that $1.20 per application. But we recommend that we have it to provide that extra layer of security, especially when we're cutting checks to people for the ERAP, you know, $10,000, $12,000 checks. You want to make sure they go into who they say they're supposed to. So,
Commissioner, I seek a motion that we approve that, please. Go ahead, Commissioner. Oh,
I was sitting here listening, and we all know that from the last time over at Salvation Army, that the fraud was from inside. So what I guess guidelines or checks do you have inside to make sure that within your organization that there's no fraud?
So we do triple checks. So we have a case manager that's then reviewed by a QCer, that's then approved by a project manager, and then it's ultimately approved by Brittany. So we send it to Brittany after we approve it, and we have everything, and Brittany just cuts the checks after we've made the determination that they're eligible. So that's pretty much, none of the checks are mailed to Atlanta at iParametrics, so they're all going out, and you all actually cut the checks. We don't cut the checks. So Newton County are the ones who have the W-9s. You are the ones that have all the tax documents, and you set up the POs in the account. Yep.
I seek a motion, please. Can I get a second? It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any more discussion? All in favor? It passed 4-0.
Yep. Perfect. Now grants. Okay. All right. So for the CFP grant that we got from Congressman Hank Johnson's office, the $4 million, me and my staff were able to attend a webinar from HUD. This webinar was kind of like a listen and kind of get information. We weren't really allowed to speak on the webinar. It was just mainly listening. So there's a grant application that we have to turn in. Part of that application is we have to identify a physical site. We have to have a line item budget. They will wait for environmental review, but we have to have a budget and a site. They want this information preferably by December 2023. They strongly suggested that it be there by December 2023, but they did say, drop dead, it would be September of 2025, I think? 2025, I think. But I don't think they want to get there. They want us to try to get this information by December 31st of 2023. That being said, a lot of these projects, when they applied, were already ready. You know, there was already a building identified, there was already a program in place. You knew what the budget was going to be, you knew what the structure was going to be. For this project, we don't even have a site identified yet, so we don't know what that $4 million is going to be used for. We don't know what the site that we ultimately do get will have. Will it have a football field, baseball field? How much is that going to cost? So we're behind the 8 ball, and we need to catch up quick so that we can get that information in. We do have until 2031 to spend the money, so that is a long time. But I mean, we don't want to take till 2031, right? So right now you've got what? Splosh money sitting there. We've got this money sitting here. So we just need to go ahead and find a location and start getting that stuff in order so that we can get this particular application in and get that ball rolling. Because there are a lot of strings attached to this money. We are eventually going to have to do an environmental review. You have to get set up in the DRGR system, which is the system that HUD has in order to seek that reimbursement. And these are HUD dollars, and they come with a lot of strings attached. So we just want to make sure that we get that going. For this year's CFP grant through Congressman Hank Johnson, we submitted the Brown Bridge Road expansion project for $1 million. So I was working with Chester, and we submitted that. We were working with Jocelyn Gilbert, the legislative assistant for Congressman Johnson, got that application submitted. If we are awarded that, Chester's ready to go day one with that. It's already been scoped out. We know what it's going to cost, and we can start spending that money immediately. Chairman Bain sent me the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, so we're reviewing that. The pre-applications for that are due May 31st. The max grant amount is $500,000, which requires a $500,000 match, so it's a dollar for dollar match. But the funding can be used for purchasing of land for parks and outside recreational facilities. So I know there's been a lot of discussion about parks and water parks and things like that, so that might be something that we can look forward as far as some of these other grants. And then my team are also looking for grants. We're going to create a form. It's an electronic form that we will send to all of the department heads and ask them to let us know what type of projects that they're looking to fund with grants. And so that way we know what grant search parameters to look for. And when we find a grant that we think is a good fit, we'll meet with that department and say, hey, you know, we would like to apply for this. Do you think it'll work? And then we check things like, do you have the match money, right? Because there are tons of grants out there, but if you don't have the match money, why apply for it? And then secondly, looking at the strings that come attached to that money and whether or not we want them headaches or not for the amount of money that they're giving us. So that's the process that we're going to put forward. That link should probably be going out next week to all the department heads so that we can get some feedback about the projects that they have and that they want to find grant funding for. Questions?
Commissioner Sanders.
Just to remind you, we have a meeting tomorrow. I don't know if you signed up for the meeting tomorrow for HUD.
For the webinar for HUD?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So there's another webinar for HUD that we're signed up on. We're on all the webinars so that we can stay abreast of what's required.
Yeah.
That being said, the biggest part is going to be the work you all have to do in figuring out exactly where we're going to spend this $4 million, where the site's going to be located, you know, what it's going to look like, what it's going to have. Like I said, I think you guys have like 8 million total. That's a decent amount to build a really huge recreational center that's kind of transformational for this community. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Did you get all the information from the initial submittal of the grant?
So you emailed me.
I mean,
I got the letters of support. So there were a number of letters of support from members of the community. There were letters of support from individual students about the need for a community center. So I did receive those emails that you sent me, and I reviewed them.
Yeah. And the form that you're sending, can you send that to the commissioners as well? Because I'm pretty sure each commissioner has some needs in their area that grants are provided for.
I can do that too. Do you guys want to get it at the commission level or the department head level? So I didn't know if you wanted to identify.
So the way we got it set up now, every grant that is that comes into the county.
You
will be-
send to me.
It will come
Yeah.
directly
I
to you
don't-
too.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think this is a grant, this is a form. She said it requires to any needs in the county should go look
Oh,
for that
okay,
grant.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can send it to each of you all too,
Yeah.
to identify
Okay.
any particular needs in your districts that are outside from internal department needs. And then, like I said, that'll give us the parameters we need to look for by way of grant funding that's out there.
Thank you.
I think you had a
Commissioner
question.
Henderson, I'm sorry.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I guess the question I'm asked, that I'm gonna ask, in addition, for the Arthur funding, so how would your company be paid as far as, from the grants? Would it be a percentage of Commissioner Sanders' grant, $4 million, if she been awarded? I mean, how would you get paid, or is it off an Arthur funding?
So my understanding is we have a separate contract for grant writing for the county as a whole. So
Yeah.
anyone can submit to us
Yeah.
grant search parameters. My understanding is that based on the last resolution that was passed, we have the ability to meet with the departments, identify the grants, but you all have the final say on whether or not we accept the grant if we're awarded. And so we bill by hour based on the grant that we write. We don't charge any flat fees like some grant writers do. So if it takes us $4,000 worth of labor to write $1 million grant, then you pay $4,000 for $1 million grant.
Okay, so that's just additional money. I just want to be clear to the citizens of Newton County. It's not something that is free. It's something that has to be paid from, I guess, from the taxpayers of Newton County and from the projects that we want. So, I want to be clear. I don't want them to go out and think, well, maybe we got some money from so. They'll know.
Thank you.
That's part of why we kind of do an evaluation of each grant before we go after it, to make sure it's a good fit, to make sure that we have the match money, and to make sure that we're aware of the strings that come attached with that money before we then spend our time writing it that you then have to pay for.
Commissioner Sanders.
So just wanted, for clarity, because I was asked this question as well when you guys came aboard doing the grants. So you're getting, and I know consultants should get paid.
Of course.
I just want to put that out there. But so you're getting paid for the search of the grant as well. Am I correct, or that's not?
We get paid by the hour for all the work
For
that we do.
just anything?
So anytime, we bill like lawyers bill. So anytime I touch a Newton County project, anytime I respond to a Newton County email, I'm billing y'all.
I just want everybody to know that's for every grant.
Yes.
So this is why we probably need to maybe up the amount for not coming at you,
No,
but
I
for a
gotcha.
permanent grant writer, because we're getting charged for every grant.
Commissioner Henderson.
So, what's the rate per hour?
I'm sorry?
What's your rate for your farm per hour?
For grant writing?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what we put in our contract for grant writing. We have a different rate for grant writing than we do for general ARPA services.
I don't remember what it was, but I think it depended on who was participating.
Yeah, and so we have different level staff. So I've got a grant writer that writes grants. We charge her at a lower hourly rate than me. If I'm writing your grant, you're gonna be paying some money, so, right? So I've got grant writing staff. I approve and review everything,
ma'am.
but my grant writing staff actually do the writing. And so that way, we're not billing my hourly rate towards you all for stuff like grant writing. It's a
Yes, ma'am.
lower hourly rate.
I just want to know on behalf of the citizens of Newton County, like Patrick, I think it's $225 an hour. We know we have to pay him that. I would just like to know up front what we're gonna have to pay either your lowest level grant writer. So we know up
I
front.
think my lowest grant writer is around 120, 130.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
We greatly appreciate you.
All right, no problem. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank
All
you
right,
so
thank you.
much.
Mr. Chairman, next item we have on the agenda is 17B, City of Covington fireworks contributions and the use of the Judicial Center for shooting the fireworks.
All right.
There is a letter that is on the desk from Judge Layla Zahn.
Thank you. Mr. Jock Stutter.
Thank you, Chair. Board, I received from the city attorney in Covington a proposed intergovernmental agreement between Newton County and the city of Covington that would call for Newton County to pay to the city of Covington some amount of money to contribute towards the July 4th fireworks. The amount that's been proposed is $10,000. So this is similar to, it's similar to other projects you do where you participate with the county or with the city. And this one, your obligation will be limited to paying the city.
This is the same thing that we did last year. We paid the city $10,000 to be a part of the fireworks show. Any questions? Commissioner Sanders?
I'm not against the fireworks. I just want to make sure that we're doing the same thing for Juneteenth, that we're putting funding towards that as well, because it's a national holiday.
All right, listen, I seek a motion. Can I get a second? Second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? State your reason why.
As I stated, I just want to make sure that we're funding all national holidays equally. I just want to make sure we're doing, I've been saying this every year so everybody know my stance on it. Just want to make sure.
Thank you.
And that we can possibly place it on the agenda for maybe the next meeting to fund Juneteenth.
Thank you. It passes 3-1, one extension.
Mr. Chairman, next item on the agenda is 17C. Commissioner Sanders would like to use ARPA funds in her district.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders?
Yes, sir. Just like Dow Mills Road area, that area does, Mount Zion constituents reached out to me about not having broadband in their area. They're having the same similar issue as we help those on Dow Mills Road. And I also had them download the NACO Tested app, which actually verifies if you have broadband in your area, and it came out to 0. So those constituents are requesting, I think they use Spectrum or AT&T in that area, I believe, because that area is similar. They're requesting the same similar service to be able to have broadband in their area, utilizing our ARPA funds.
Is there a cost?
They haven't placed a cost yet because it just came to me as Chairman Baines, just like Dow Mills came before us, and they later had to present to us their bill on how much it costs once they had AT&T survey the area.
Okay.
So-
Commissioners, I seek a motion, please.
I'm placing a motion to utilize ARPA funds to assist the constituents in the Dow Mills area for their broadband services, which is one of the allocations used for ARPA funds. Oh, and I will add to that they will bring back before the board the actual dollar amount of the cost.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please? It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we've moved item number 9 to this particular place on the agenda. It's open for discussion. Human Resources, our Director Amanda Shoemaker and Mr. Gary Massey are going to discuss for fiscal year 24 employee medical insurance proposal.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. As you are aware, I am Amanda Shoemaker, and I stand excited here tonight before you to be standing next to Gary Massey. He is going to bring some wonderful news about our employee medical insurance for this year. The chairman and I have been working diligently with Gary in order that we place, for our employees to be placed in a better position. So Gary is going to come before you to speak of his findings or his recommendations.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners and staff, I appreciate last year when I presented to you all, I outlined the plans for this coming year, and you all endorsed those plans at the timetable that we were working on, and it has actually bared fruit this year. We began the meetings with the representatives of the insurance companies in December with a target date of March and a finish date in late March, and to be here in April for budget considerations, and so the employees will know. Remember, I'm going to be recommending a carrier change, so I'm going to give a little more due diligence that went over. Remember, the past few years, we've been with Cigna for 4 years, and we've had 2 plans. One was referred to as a Local Plus plan with a narrow medical provider list, a lower rate, and a lower deductible. The other was an Open Access Plus, higher deductible, higher rate because it was open access. The packages went out. We had met with all the people. The first bids came in, and our incumbent carrier bid 15%. Another carrier bid 19%. Aetna bid 1% of an increase. And during this period of time as well, and this will come into play for years to come, we had met with Humana's representatives, and they were working on it. And right in the middle, I got an email where Humana was withdrawing from the major medical market. So that continues to shrink the numbers that we have. The updated loss information came in. I went ahead, went back to the carriers, and I said, here's the new losses. You can go ahead and alter your proposal based upon it. After reviewing it, our incumbent Cigna came in at 9.8% increase. Blue Cross Blue Shield came in at 19%, stayed constant on it. Aetna reduced it to flat. The meetings were held face-to-face with Blue Cross Blue Shield and Aetna. We were familiar with Cigna. Humana had dropped out. And the meetings were Commissioner Baines, Amanda Shoemaker, and myself for the interviews. And after the interviews and seeing where we were on the flat, I was looking at it and I said, okay, Cigna had the narrow medical plan. The other carriers don't. And I began looking at, can we blend the rate and have everyone under one plan, since we're essentially having 2 plans with relatively close deductibles. And the more I thought about it, I sent back out information and asked for one plan, $1,750 deductible, and everyone would be in it. I had a choice to make of either try to get a blended rate by driving the deductible down for everyone from $2,000 to $1,750, or raising it from $1,750 to $2,000. And I thought I would take an opportunity to try first to get everyone with a lower rate. The end result is that right now, when it all came back, Aetna came back flat, Cigna adjusted to 11%, Blue Cross Blue Shield adjusted to 24%. It became apparent at that time that negotiations would be with Aetna, and this statement pleases me greatly. Every participating member of the Newton County Board of Commissioners employees will be enhanced in some capacity with this plan. The Local Plus plan with the narrow medical panel, we had 307 members in it. They will remain constant on their rate. However, they will not have the narrow medical panel. They are getting the open access for the same money that they were paying. On the open access plan, we had 213 employees be a part of it. They're going to see a reduction in their premium. They're going to see a reduction on their deductible from $2,000 to $1,750, and these are the things that they will really benefit from. Now, the Newton County Board of Commissioners, here's your enhancement if you accept the recommendation to move to this plan. Assuming the enrollment stays around 520 people, last year you were billed between the 2 plans, because remember, one plan was higher, you were billed between 2 plans roughly $733,218 per month. The plan this year, one plan, lower deductible, lower cost, you'll be billed $703,019. So that is a savings to the Newton County Board of Commissioners over what you paid last year, $30,189, of which you all fund 80% of it, for a $24,151 savings per month, $280,000 per year. saved over last year's cost. The closest that we have on that plan is 1.3 million higher than what we have offered tonight. The breakdown, the 307 employees, everyone was going to stay within $2 or $3 of where they were at on the plan. They're getting the broad network in return. The 213 members, they're saving, we have 4 classes, employee, employee and spouse, employee and child and family. They're saving, their 20% portion will be $14, $29, $24, and $45 per month savings to the employee. Now, also the criteria that was sent out is to equal what we're getting now from Cigna. I have been a proponent of the Wellness Fund since its inception in 2011. Aetna has agreed to fund the wellness program at the same $50,000 level that Cigna was paying. They have further agreed to assist Human Resources with the wellness coordinator salary that is going in, and they're going to pay the B-SWIFT as well too. Here's the other interesting caveat to the package. I've got the responsibility to be certain that this plan is market competitive, and I cannot look just at this year. I have to be looking farther ahead too. When I see that much discrepancy on proposals, and it does happen, the initial response from me is, where are we going to be at the end of next year? So, that being said, we negotiated a cap with Aetna. The cap for policy year 2024 to 2025, 13.8%. That does not mean that it's going to go up 13.8%. They can't exceed it. Now, how did I arrive at that number to negotiate on? Remember back a few minutes ago, the first proposals to come in from the other carriers were 15%, 19%. I wanted to be under those numbers, and we got under it with 13.8. The one caveat in it is that if there is another outbreak along the lines of COVID, they may rescind the cap on it because they don't know what mandates will be paid, be ordered to be paid. So essentially, next year, the agreement is I get the renewal 60 to 90 days before the renewal date to digest it, negotiate it, and then can make a determination. But having this in play, if they got the entire 13.8, we would be averaging 6.8% for the 2-year period of time. Dental insurance, the rates went up. Some went up $1, some went up $2. I have it capped at 6% for the years following it. I want to put this 2-year thing in perspective for you. The employees of the Newton County Board of Commissioners have an employer that provides market competitive insurance. I check everything. I check the deductibles. I check everything down the line, and it's market competitive. Financial stability is the #1 reason you all provide the insurance. If this plan is accepted tonight, for 4 years, the 2-year past 2 with Cigna, the 2 forthcoming with Aetna, for 4 years, the deductible will not have moved for anyone, and it will have come down for 200 plus employees. The co-pays will not have moved for 4 years, and remember last year we dropped the co-pay from 80 to 60 on specialty class. So the financial stability that you're offering to your employee base is 4 years of consistent out-of-pocket money, and that is critical. Just as you all have a budget, families have a budget too, and when this ends, it will be 4 years of consistent money. Now, I am open for questions before I make my recommendation. Okay. The pharmacy is, we have qualified for Aetna's broadest pharmacy. During the 4 years ago, when we were making some concessions on the budget for the insurance, we went with a pharmacy version that was not as broad as what we had hoped for. And this year with Aetna, we were able to negotiate to broaden out the pharmacy structure. They have 60,000 pharmacies, and it will also put Kroger back into the mix too, that we lost on January 1. The further vetting along with the pharmacy, when we interviewed Aetna and Blue Cross, we asked for references on who they insured. We were provided the Atlanta Housing Authority, City of College Park, City of Dalton, Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners, and Paulding County Board of Commissioners. And that is what we wanted to see of people surrounding us that would share the same medical panel that we shared. Those are the things that we accomplished this year. Okay. Oh yes, let me address that issue.
Thank you, sir.
During the past year, there have been many issues about MRIs and CAT scans. When I set the proposal out, Cigna required you to go to a freestanding clinic. Sounds simple, except for the fact we're very short on freestanding clinics in Newton County. I put in the proposal, I asked each carrier presenting a proposal to kindly address the same issue on CAT scans and MRIs. The concession that we have with Aetna, they have the same gatekeeper that everyone else has. Everything goes through, you have to receive an authorization. That's not going to change, but they did agree that if it was medically necessary, they would consider Piedmont. And I think in talking with the chairman last year and with Amanda this year, that tended to be the #1 complaint. And we're not going to be any worse off, and we'll be slightly better off with what we have now. And Blue Cross Blue Shield had the same provision with the same gatekeeper.
Any questions? Yeah, Commissioner Sanders.
I just want to say thank you because Amanda got my email. For those who want to know why I was not at the budget hearing, I have had appointments that I have to keep, or they actually I have to wait 3 months. So I was sitting in the parking lot emailing Amanda on why I couldn't get my mammogram. I had to pay out of pocket. And so I want to thank you so much for this, because I can experience and sympathize with the employees that had to go through it. So your commissioner had to go through it too. You went by yourself. So thank you so much, and I appreciate that.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for your kind comments.
I know we covered a lot, but did we cover the out-of-network?
Yes.
We did,
Yeah,
okay.
We do this year because of the provisions that we have. We match the out-of-network. The out-of-network is being paid at a percent of Medicare, but the out-of-network is available to the employees. Remembering that when we do our penetration, 98.5% of our claims came in network. So the out-of-network is a very small window for the people to use, but it is available. Aetna also has a national network, and you don't know how important that becomes until you have a child away at college out of state, or you're on vacation. And if you have an emergency, of course, any insurance company will pay it along on those lines, but just sickness, you have a national network that you can find the physician on.
Yes, Lord. Commissioner Henderson.
Well, first of all, just thank you, Mr. Massey, for doing such a great job as usual. And it is my hope that you can look at all our insurance as well, especially, I think with our collision deduction of about, was it $300,000 per vehicle if we have an accident. And I think that, and then we got carriers, it's my understanding that we pay them just for us to pay if we have a wreck or something. And most wreck costs was less than $300,000. I would like for you, and I can't make the decision by myself, to look at all aspects of our insurance. And I'm gonna just add one more to it, since this is what I do. I also want you to look at our defined benefit package, because I think it's very important for our employees. I believe they deserve it. They deserved it a long time ago, and I think we shouldn't punish if we're gonna look at it. And I think the chairman and I, we talked a little bit about that. We call it a sidebar when you come in and talk a little bit about it. I think we shouldn't include the employees who had the opportunity to be in it, and then they're still working, and not to exclude them too as well, the old employees. And I think we're less than $22 million. But nevertheless, we have the best employees in the world, and we should be able to give them the best benefit that we do have, because with our employees, we really are not doing too much, because we need them like Ms. Shoemaker and like all the county employees, like the sheriff deputies, who really makes us look good and make our county great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Gary, and thank you, Ms. Shoemaker. To enhance our coverage and actually come in below what we were last year in terms of premium is, I'm in the insurance business, and we couldn't have screamed. We couldn't have screamed if you had come in and said we're 8% increase, because inflation is 8% year over the last 2 years at least. So we couldn't have complained about 8%, but to see a reduction and enhance our coverage is good news indeed, and thank you for that. So, but insurance business, year 2 is going to be the key. So, watching what year 2 does will be key. But thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you for the kind comments. And that cap in year 2 was a critical, pivotal point of this. And along with, it makes it a smooth transition next year, and we're not locked into it, but at least we know the worst case scenario.
And their representative made the statement that they want to be a part of Newton County, so they want to be here for the long haul. So that's a great thing. You had a question, Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Massey, for this great information. Thank you, Ms. Shoemaker. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the three of you working together to help our employees. As this board knows, and we try to do our best to communicate it effectively, is that our human capital, our personnel, is the most important within our community or within our county. And so being able to provide this for them, I think, is amazing. And so to just know all that Aetna has decided to give because they want to be a part of this county, I think this is great. Hopefully, like you said, of course, we won't reach that 13% in the second year, because that's what I was really focusing on, because a lot of times insurance companies, they'll say, hey, we'll give you this great promotion, we'll give you all the bells and the whistles, but then after that, it's, a huge hike, and we're back up to where we were or exceeding where we were before we brought on a new provider. And so it's great to hear that you were able to make sure that we didn't exceed that 15%, that we would max out at that 13%, and hopefully we won't get anywhere near that 13% at all. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you have done, and we're looking forward to continue to provide great assistance to our employees.
Thank you for the kind comments here. About the looking ahead on it, a lot of gray in this hair. Been there. Any further questions? Then my recommendation to the Newton County Board of Commissioners is that we accept the proposal offered on medical and dental insurance by Aetna Insurance Company, and authorize and enable the chairman to sign and execute all pertinent forms required to the transition over from Cigna to Aetna.
Thank you, sir. With that being said, I seek a motion, please. Can I get, it's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any more discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank both of you guys. Y'all did a great job with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your participation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizen comments. This opportunity that will allow citizens to make comments. You have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name, your address for the record, please. You may come at this time.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Lowe. I live at 35 Highwood Drive, Covington, Georgia. I have some concerns. When the grant writer, when she's up here talking about all these expenses, I wonder how much thought went into that. Because it's like when you're planning an event, you have to think about everything, all the different steps of it. It seems like the the former city manager, he just put out an RFP for a grant writer, didn't think everything through. So every time she's sending out an email, every time they're looking for a grant, they're charging us. So wouldn't it have been better spent money better spent if we would have just paid a grant writer maybe a little bit higher? Maybe we weren't offering the correct wage. Why not pay a regular grant writer a good price to have somebody on the county so that we're not being nickel and dime to death? Because when you start looking at all these programs now for the ARPA funds, we're paying them like $420,000, but no one thought about, okay, when people are working on the computer, they're gonna need help. Senior citizens and some other people just aren't familiar with that or not good with that. So now, on top of paying them $420,000, now we've got to pay more people to go and assist people to help them fill out these applications on the computer. So to me, it just seems like before we're doing things, some real detailed work needs to be done. Like Mr. Massey, I mean, that was an awesome presentation. You can tell him, I mean, he has dotted every I and crossed every T. And I think that when you're hiring consultants and stuff, that you need to look at him as an example and do that and do some more research before you're paying these people this money, because it's like you're throwing away the taxpayers' money when you could have a grant writer to do the things that they're doing instead of me nickel and dime for every little thing, single thing. And we need to use the people that we have in our county. They're paying taxes. We need to employ our own instead of employing consultants. And I think part of some of the results that we're getting, only 8 kids from the youth program, it's like sometimes the people that live in the county, they know how things work and how you market better. I just think we're paying them a lot of money and not necessarily getting all the results that we should be getting from that. So I just think that there's got to be some more thought going into things, and we need to hire less consultants and start using our tax dollars to hire our citizens so that they can work in our county where they live. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Denise Williams, P.O. Box 1442, Covington, Georgia. Commissioners, I gave out a package, and you all should have it. So I just want to, it has to be some checks and balances in the county, because I put in there about the conflict of interest for transactions. I put in the code of ethics for members on the board, the commissions and authorities and elected officials. I also put a financial disclosure in there for Chairman Baines, where he said he was affiliated with Baines Transport. He's the manager, the trucking manager. Then he oversees day-to-day operation. And let me see. And it says, what is his occupation? He's a manager, and the filer's name is Baines Transport. But I also gave y'all a sheet that looked like this. And on this sheet, this is the invoice from Gerard and Davis. It says that Baines Transport LLC made $162,000 off of the county. And it also has his vendor package in there as well. So I just petition y'all commissioners to ask y'all county attorney, what do y'all need to do and what needs to be done from this process, because I don't even know how this ever passed the vendor process for Baines to be a vendor for the county and also a chairman of the county. So that should have never got through the vendor process. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, sir.
Archie Shepherd, 916 Village Drive, Covington, Georgia. I just want to take time to thank you and the commissioners for coming to the meeting the other night. You said you would come and you came. The other thing is, I have a question. I know you don't have to answer, but are y'all going to put out a search for in-house attorney? Also, I want to thank Commissioner Edwards for letting us know that, you know, that he said that he didn't want anyone to bring out the redneck in him. So I'm gonna be very careful I'm gonna be very careful from now on what I said, because I don't want to bring the redneck out on your message. Thank you very much, and thank y'all for coming, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Edwards. No, you good. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to ask everyone to please keep in your thoughts and prayers. We had citizens in my district killed yesterday. I believe it was Wildcat Creek subdivision off 162. So keep those folks and their families in your prayers if you don't mind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to put out there that we are excited about our annual summer movies in the park. We're getting ready to start that once again in May. So we are actually doing a Cinco de Mayo event on May the 5th at Denny Dobbs Park. We will be watching the Disney movie Encanto, and we are excited about it. It's going to be a free community event, so we want to ask everybody to come out, have a great time, and let's just enjoy Cinco de Mayo. And I've also partnered with, and I forgot to mention this, that I've partnered with an organization called Ayuda Hispana Outreach. As a matter of fact, this young lady is whom I met last year during campaign season, lives in District 2, asked her to start a 501c3 so that we can start helping our Hispanic community as well in District 2. We have about 9% Hispanic population per the census, which is the highest amount of Hispanic population in our community. And so she started at 501c3 last year, and we are working collectively together to really help bring our Hispanic community apart, to let them know that we care about them also. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Can you tell us the name of that movie again?
Encanto.
Thank you, sir. All right. Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you so much. Just want to put out an announcement on April 19th at 6:30 p.m. right here in our boardroom. Commissioner Henderson and I will be hosting a community meeting, so that's open to the public on April 19th at 6:30 p.m. We will also put out some notification. Just want to clear up some information. I had the opportunity to listen and watch the video from the community meeting, and there was some information that was actually stated. My fellow colleague, Commissioner Cowan, mentioned that the question was posed was, why didn't we not go back and look at the 62 acres of land? And so Commissioner Cowan stated that he spoke to Ms. Monk twice, and he asked her to actually bring down her price. So when I heard that, I also called Ms. Monk. Ms. Monk stated, and she don't have a problem coming before the board, she said that no one asked her to come, came back before her to negotiate or asked her to come down on her price. She said when she spoke to Commissioner Cowan, they only talked about her putting a senior service facility on her land. She said she'd rather put a Parks and Rec versus putting more homes on Fairview Road. And I want to expound on that. There was a statement made that I must know Ms. Monk, and I want to put that out there. I didn't meet Ms. Monk until she came to me to actually talk about putting actual property, 300 homes on Fairview Road, and she asked for my opinion. At that time, I found out that she was a commissioner 30 years ago. Had never met her, first time even meeting her. Once I found out about the land and the information, I brought that to Parks and Rec as a suggestion of placing that there, gave them the information, and they took care of everything. So I just want to put that out there. I also want to expound on that 62 acres of land. On that 62 acres of land, this is what can happen. Walkable area within a community of 3 schools, not placing it in an area of an intersection where children would have to cross the street. We just recently had an incident where a child was hit by a car trying to cross the intersection in District 3. Fairview Road has 19 subdivisions. Jack Neely has over 16, almost 19, 20 subdivisions. Kirkland Road also has about 16, 17 subdivisions. So also on Fairview Road, we received a grant from Congressman Hank Johnson to build walkable and bikeable trails. So I want you to think about that. What is the most feasible area to place a youth facility for our youth? Parks and Rec our senior services, also ball fields on 62 acres of land, which would also save money because one of those projects can pay for the land, and then we're building. So you have funding from the youth facility, you have funding from the West Side Park, and you have funding from senior services. Why would you require all three of those entities who are going to be coming on the west side of Newton County to each buy individual land? You asked me, does that make sense? Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, you know, it always be something new every meeting, but I think the movers in the over in District 2 at Dendor's Park, I think it's a terrific, great idea, and I think you know we've been thinking about at Nelson Heights. We want to do that too as well. But I've been on this board a while and I struggle. I struggle because it's about transparency. I struggle because I know that for 4 years and a half I was under investigation by the grand jury, by the GBIs, FBIs. For 4 years and a half, and all it was about 3 rolls of toilet paper and some broccoli. And so I think, and I think that we need Mr. Patrick. If this is, I don't know what all on it. I think we need Mr. Patrick to look at it, because if it was anybody else on this board, I think we need to know. I think the citizens need to know. It's not trying to say anything bad about nobody, but you know, I've been through it, and I took it with a smile. You know, and I'm still standing. And so I think nobody's no better. No one, not even Donald Trump, is above the law. So I ask for transparency.
Thank you, sir. I do seek a motion that we adjourn, please. It's been motion by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Sanders. All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you.